Hi, how y'all doing? So today I thought I'd do something a little different. So far I've done videos like black and white funny faces and farting Super Dave style, various other videos. I want to kind of touch upon a different topic today. I want to do a story about the best and funniest fart I've ever had in my life. And yes, some people might be like, what's he talking about, a funny fart? There's no such thing. Or they might be saying like, is this really worth my time watching? Yeah, it's worth it. I was in high school, 2005. Now back when iPads were still brand new and iPhones were the in thing, and the dinosaurs used to walk around outside my school. Anyways, so there I was in the middle of class. The usual tedious, boring stuff going on. Of course, I was the star student, so I never paid attention anyways. I just made them think I did because I was, talented. We'd had burritos, and we were back into class. It was just after lunch, and in the middle of the classroom, you get that sensation in the pit of your stomach down to your bungholio, and you're like, oh, mother of Lord, this is going to be bad. And you're praying it's not overly smelly, or that it's not overly loud, because you don't want to be the kid in that classroom that's standing there that just lets out the very loud fart that everybody in the room hears. They all know what direction it is, and if you're very unlucky, they all know it's you. That embarrassing moment where you feel pretty proud of yourself and humiliated in equal measure. We've all had them. You have. Yeah, I was in the middle of class, and the urge took me. I was just thinking to myself, Lord, don't let it be loud. I was in a classroom next to some pretty girls. Stuff like that really matters more than it does now. So it went down like this. I'm sitting in the chair, and I just had to do it. YouTube. I gave new definition to the term of farce. It went down like this. Okay? Those hot, steamy, you just know are rancid, and within seconds, the guy next to me just randomly starts, and that's all bad, so I'm thinking to myself, crap, this must have been a really good one. I got 4 people gagging, myself included, because at the time the tables were set in groups of 4. And it's pretty impressive. We all know making one of those epically disgusting farts that sneak out 4 people. So at this point, I'm like, okay, it is what it is. Pretty girl got gassed, and a couple of my homies. That's just how the game goes sometimes, you know what I'm saying? But much to my shock, the people at the next table over began to start making the same faces, and by this time my homies are like making these gagging sounds, because literally, I kid you not, it smelled like sulfur, rotten eggs. But I'll tell you what, it was unholy, and it was rancid. I'm watching the whole next table, one by one, just start to gag and splutter, do all the characteristic things of being a victim of a massive fart. Just straight victim status. They're helpless in this fume, and by this time I am really feeling very proud of myself, because not only have I gassed out my own table, I have gassed out someone else's table too. So I'm feeling pretty good. And then, much to my absolute astonishment, the third table, which is a good 15 feet away from me, starts to gag, splutter, and hiss, and it's just, by this time it's getting funny, because my table's still gagging. This is a good 10 seconds after the fart began. Most have dissipated, but this one was like a hurricane 5. It just kept growing in intensity and stinkiness, and it was epically awesome, even though I was mortified at the time. But now I think it was just a crowning achievement. But the fun doesn't stop there, because it continued to expand, and by this time it hit the middle of the room. And the funny part was, that is where my teacher at the time was, in the front of the class. And I'll never forget the look on her face. All up there doing her teacher thing, finger in the air, talking to someone about something history related, because she was a history teacher. And right in the middle of her sentence, she just stopped dead. And I kid you, it was like this. She was saying something like, the medieval time, blah, 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 and stops. Mid-frickin' sentence. I kid you not. And she's still hovering there with her finger in the air. It's like a statue. And then, because she's the adult of the room, she tries to shrug it off, and she tries to say something again, and she gets like 2 words out. Oh. I kid you not. And it's like that. And by this time, it's moved past her, onward, and by this time, I've taken out 3/4 of the room, 3/4 of my classroom, which wasn't a small classroom. I mean, literally, it was like a room 40 feet or so in diameter. I mean, it was a huge classroom, and I have gassed 2/3 of it, and by this time I'm in shock because, again, everybody from me to there, and it's getting even stinkier. I don't know how this is humanly possible, and I should note I've never been able to replicate it, but I have tried, because there are a few people I'd love to gas with one of these. By this time, the stink was solidifying. I mean, it was like one of those all-encompassing smells, just clawing your way into your very essence. Everybody in that room was probably worried they were going to smell like rotten eggs by the end of this. I kid you not, it was bad, and I was enjoying every bit of it this time. At this point, I had lost all self-control, and I had burst out laughing. I was like pounding my fist on the table. I was laughing so hard my eyes were watering. It was epically funny, because I mean, how could you not? You let out one little fart. It wasn't even a really long fart. It was a short 1.5 second. I mean, and that little thing has been so potent and so concentrated that it has fumigated, and the very last table starts to gag. And the first table I'm at is still gagging. I mean, it's just great. I mean, everybody in the classroom now is just like this. Oh, it's like, oh, hell. I mean, it was funny. It was crazy funny. I mean, I kid you not. It was crazy funny. Okay? And I'm ready to fall out of my chair because everybody is now a victim of my super stinky fart. And I was at the height of my life. I was like, fear me and my almighty bunghole. The whole fart had cleared the room. And what made it better is that a minute and a half later, my teacher, who had been trying to hold it together this whole time, everybody to the next classroom over, because the classrooms were joined, you know, either classroom here, classroom there, you go through, and, you know, the whole concept. So we walk into the other classroom where the math class was going on. The teacher looks at my teacher and asks, "Why are you in there?" And she said, "It stinks too much. Someone farted. I'm sorry, but we had to get out of there." The classroom was empty for 20 minutes before the lingering stankiness dissipated to the point where people could actually go in there and ignore it. That means ignore it. Not that it was gone, that it had dropped to such a low level that people could actually tolerate the stankiness. We reached toxic proportions. I kid you not. It was hilarious. The end. And right in the middle of her sentence, she just stopped dead. And I kid you, it was like this. She was saying something like, use a false name here. You know, she said something like, "Jacob, the medieval time, blah, blah, blah," and stops. Mid-frickin' sentence. I kid you not. And she's still hovering there, with her finger in the air. Just a full second and a half. She sits there and just stays like a statue. And then, because she's the adult of the room, she tries to shrug it off, you know. And she tries to say something again, and she gets like 2 words out. She's like, and she's like, she's like, and no, she's like, and she's like, and